And we are joined now by Greg Wyshynski, the host of the ESPN On Ice podcast. And Greg, you say in the piece, no longer possibility, but probability. 194 goals is still a lot of goals for a 34-year-old. What makes you so sure?
It's a couple of things. First of all, it's the way that he scores goals. You know, he's not going to be a player that relies on speed and skating. As we see, 44% of his goals come from one spot in the ice. And as long as the Capitals keep getting power plays, he's going to still get chances from that spot. The other thing is his durability. Now, Alex Ovechkin has only missed 4 games in a season once. Since 2016, he's only missed 5 games total, 3 of them for suspension. So, you know, the old joke is the Russian machine never breaks. But it's true. He doesn't. So durability, the way he scores goals, gives him a legitimate shot at breaking the record.
But you could argue, if you would allow me for a moment to play devil's advocate, that he's got a lot of miles on those wheels.
Yeah, but he's a physical freak. I mean, he keeps himself in great shape. Keep in mind that he's been able to continue to score goals at this rate, playing a very physical brand of hockey. I mean, he still is one of the most feared hitters in the National Hockey League. So we're all the way 15 years into his career. He's still excelling as a goal scorer, even playing that brand of hockey.
Now, we touch upon this in the piece. It's a different era. It's not the go-go 80s and 90s, scoring 50 goals now. More impressive than it was in Wayne Gretzky's heyday. That's just the truth. But when we talk about them as complete players, as arguably the greatest players of their eras or ever, how do we have that discussion when you're talking about Ovechkin and Gretzky?
Well, there's no question that Gretzky is the more complete player. I mean, the fact of the matter is that while the goal-scoring record might fall, his points record probably never will because of how great he was in setting up goals as well as scoring them.
11 consecutive seasons of at least 100 assists. Ovechkin's never had as many as 60 in a season.
Correct. But as a goal scorer, I think you could make the argument quite successfully that Ovechkin already is the greatest goal scorer of all time. The fact that he's done it in an era like this where Gretzky himself said it's tougher to score goals. In Gretzky's 1980s, 3.83 goals per game average. In Ovechkin's 2010s is 2.79. What he's doing is more impressive than what Gretzky did. He's doing against better defensive systems, better goaltending, better almost everything that Gretzky had to face.
It's interesting, too, Greg, right? We're having this discussion now about Alex Ovechkin in his 15th season, 15 years after he was the first overall pick. And maybe, you know, certainly 10 years ago, we thought we'd be having this discussion, perhaps more likely having it about Sidney Crosby. And that rivalry and the way that it's developed, the way that it's also gone in directions we didn't expect over the last 10 years.
Yeah, and it's always been a really fun comparison, like Ovechkin, the Russian rock star, Crosby, the Canadian golden boy. I think where we've seen this rivalry go is Ovechkin obviously being the better goal scorer, Crosby obviously being the better all-around player. At this point, you can say he's still the best all-around player in the world. Connor McDavid's defense might get there at some point, but I think Crosby's still on the throne. You know, obviously, Crosby missed some time due to injury, due to concussions, things of that nature. Who knows where he'd be otherwise? But I think you can safely say that Ovechkin is the better goal scorer, but Crosby at the end of his career, unless Ovechkin starts winning gold medals and Stanley Cups at a much higher rate, is still going to have probably the more accolades and prestige and accomplishment as a team player.
All right, so the countdown is on. 194 and counting down. Alex Ovechkin to Wayne Gretzky's record of 894. Greg Wyshynski, he is the host of the ESPN On Ice podcast. Always a pleasure, sir.
Anytime.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.